question was raised in several of our conversations about where will the money be spent. From goals and objectives over the last few years with this city council, staff prepared the list of Hanford Public Safety and Essential Services needs as they stand today. The construction of Station Number 3 and Station 4. This need was actually identified by prior councils when they purchased the land on which to build Station 3 and Station 4. In order to open Station 3 and Station 4, 18 additional sworn firefighters would be required to open the door and operate the station. We would also recommend 2 non-sworn positions. You also need 2 new fire engines and 1 new ladder truck. We've also talked in our goals and objectives over the last few budget years the need for the construction of a new police station. Prior councils also identified that need when in 2005 they put together a needs assessment for the police department, which identified in 2005 we needed at least 17,000 square feet from which to operate a modern police department, and anticipated the need for 25,000 square feet in the near future. We would recommend an additional allocation of 17 sworn positions and 3 non-sworn positions, plus the equipment, including the vehicles to keep those officers on the street. One of the things we talk about when you hear that we only have 3 officers on duty at 3 o'clock in the morning in the city of Hanford, in order for us to add 1 officer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to patrol, we have to hire 5 bodies. It takes 5 people to put 1 person on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This proposal would put 3 bodies on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and give you an additional allocation for an additional detective and an additional gang task force participant. Restoration of parks maintenance staffing. It was only a few short years ago we did parks maintenance with 17 park maintenance workers. We're down to 13, and it shows. Park maintenance is typically the first department sacrificed when budgets get tight, and no different here. Additional recreation staff to facilitate after-school programs. We could accomplish this task with 1 full-time rec leader and 8 part-time rec supervisors, and that number of part-timers could be adjusted as demand requires. It's been stated by members of the council that it's much better use of taxpayers' money to invest in our young people to prevent them from becoming customers of the police department if they have no other activities to keep them busy after school. We would recommend additional engineering position out at Public Works, additional support staffing at the corporation yard, shop personnel to maintain additional fire trucks and police vehicles, 1 additional HR person, 1 additional IT person, and 1 additional body in community development. Additional funding for street maintenance that goes to the rate of about $1 million per mile to maintain a city street. With our current allocation of gas tax, we can maintain every city street once every 104 years. So if we haven't been in front of your house lately, we'll put you on the list. We should be there within the next 80 years or so, we hope. Eric, can you roll to the next slide? When we talk about the revenue generated from this proposal over a 20-year sunset, and that adds up to a lot of money. The construction cost for 2 new fire stations and the police station, as had been drafted back in 2007 and 8, is $24 million for those 3 facilities. To add the 18 firefighters and their support staff, the 17 police officers and their support staff, you're looking at $88 million over that 20-year period. Parks maintenance staff, those 4 bodies over that 20-year period, and their equipment, about $8 million. The after-school programs to give our young folks the opportunity to stay out of trouble. We think that'd run us about $3 million over that 20-year period, and we would leverage those dollars with our school district and help expand existing programs on school campuses where the kids are at 3 p.m. The cost for support services to maintain the infrastructure and the support of the personnel listed above is about $11 million over that 20-year period. And if we spent an extra $25 million on our street maintenance program over the life of this measure, 25 more miles of the city of Hanford streets would look as good as the latest section of Grangeville's renovation. Your Honor, that's what we had prepared, and staff's recommendation would be that council adopt Resolution 14-46R. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to council. Jim, you want to start?
Sure. If I could, through the mayor, I would like Mr. Pyle just to explain two more things, if possible. Sure. Thank you. And then I'll go to myself. Mr. Pyle, you don't have on there the cost of the two fire trucks, the ladder truck and the other.
We know the cost of a new fire engine. We recently purchased two that replaced 23 and 25-year-old equipment at Station 1 and Station 2. For the current design and current configuration, they run about $495,000 each, so $1 million to put engines in Station 3 and 4. A new ladder truck has a sticker price of a little over $1.1 million. And we do recognize that on top of this revenue source, as you heard discussed tonight, we do collect development impact fees so that growth pays for its share of growth. And we would also recommend development impact fees to be utilized to equip those new fire stations. That's a great use for development impact fees.
Excellent. The other question, this would generate approximately $8 million in addition to the general fund revenue?
Yes, sir.
Would you explain to the public how it would be kept as a separate account for this sales tax initiative only, so that everybody has an idea of where this money is going?
Yes, Your Honor. The Franchise Tax Board of the State of California receives sales tax receipts collected at every retail point inside the city limits, and they disperse that back to the cities. We get a check monthly from the Franchise Tax Board, and then about every third month, they actually do a cleanup and try to make sure they've delivered to the city of Hanford all the sales tax due to the city of Hanford. So they try to make sure the books are balanced about once a quarter. This would be accounted for in a separate line item so that the revenue from the ballot measure could be identified separately. And in the polling on the subject, it was identified that citizens' oversight was a strong issue, that the voters felt more strongly in support of a measure as long as there was citizens' oversight. Every year when the city of Hanford develops its budget, we would identify specifically the resources from that revenue line item in the general fund, that ballot measure, and it will eventually be assigned a ballot measure label like, Measure A. We would be able to track that revenue separate from other general fund revenues, and we would be able to show you in the budget exactly how staff proposes Measure A money to be spent, whatever the measure is. We don't know it's A yet. But one thing we would be able to ensure the public is if council were to move forward with the construction of the new fire stations and the new police stations and bring on board 18 additional sworn in fire and 17 additional sworn in police, those revenues are pretty well locked in to keep those bodies in place at least through the life of the measure. So once you've filled those personnel opportunities, there's not a whole lot of latitude or flexibility to be redirected. There's some money for streets. You could move that to parks. There's some money from parks. You could move that to streets. But the bulk of the money, as identified based on these needs, is public safety.
Hypothetically, this passes in November. Will we break ground for a fire station in December?
What we'd be able to do, the land for the two fire stations, 3 and 4, you already own. We have construction drawings in hand. At council's direction, immediately following certification of the election results, we would move forward with architectural and engineering on a new police station and a new fire station. My guess is plans and specifications to make sure the drawings from 2006-07 still meet your current needs. I would hope we would have the ability to break ground within 9 months tops. on the fire stations. PD, we do not own that land. We would be
Correct.
looking for that location.
We would be
And as
still
quickly as we could acquire the real property, you'd be in a similar position to hopefully be permit ready within 9 to 12 months.
Right, so in other words, it would immediately start moving forward.
Absolutely.
Excellent.